there's something being cultivated, but we're in for root shock because they are cooking up some plans to start restricting how many grocery stores you can buy from and how much food you can buy. For the past 30 years, there have been drastic changes in the farming landscape. Bill Gates is easy buying lands all over the place and converting them into factories for producing microchips. And all those farms are actually farms that were used to producing food. All right? So part of the reason given that they're going to give us will be that for everyone to secure a fair share of available limited quantities of food and groceries, food must be controlled. And anyone who's familiar with statistics will know that the population of the United States is growing as we are talking right now. We just added another 10 million people from the southern border who are all illegals. All right? Now, what they're trying to target, right now we are at 333.29 million on the population of America. The target is that when we get to 500, they're going to try another depopulation agenda. Well, they've been trying depopulation agenda with many ways. They've tried abortion clinics, pandemic. It wasn't a pandemic, they planned it to eliminate a number of people. That's why in this church, we never shut down. We refused to shut down. We went actually on the streets to preach when people were shutting down. We were not wearing masks and nobody died. Also, available farmland in America is decreasing. Unfortunately, people are building more houses. Have you seen more houses being built up? They're building more houses and removing land, farmlands and green, anything green is being removed, replaced by buildings and rental properties. It was a time that America was producing the largest number of farm produce all over the world. Do you know now the number one producer of agricultural produce all over the world? Who is the number one person? Yes, China is producing a total of 3 trillion tons of crops based on data. And China is followed by India. The US is not even beating India. So right now it's China and India who are the largest producer. And guess who's the number one buyer of the lands that were used for farms in America? China. So China is coming here, buying farmlands and using it to produce their own farm produce to sell it back to you. So America is no longer the world's number one producer of agricultural produce. America is number 3. America is only producing 717 billion tons of crops. So China has taken over. So if there was something like a drought all over the world that affects the whole world, guess who America will be begging to feed us? So in the most recent survey, there were 2 million US farms in 2022, down from 220 million in 2007. Today, there's less than 3 million farming. So there's less than 3 million. So farming is no longer controlled by a small independent farming groups in America. Today, many of the farm operations are controlled by big business. Today, there's only 1.3 of the Americans that are still farming, and increasingly doing so on the operations of over 2,000 acres. And they're destroying meat factories. Why? Because they want to give you synthetic meat. It's already being sold in the grocery stores. You just don't read your packages really well. Meat made in a lab. Because they're blaming cows on climate problems. They're saying because cows are farting, that cows fart produce climate problems. Since when did a cow's fart produce climate problems? Well, that's what the left is telling us. When did cows' flatulence become a climate crisis issue? Right now they're saying the biggest problem in America is not China. They're saying the biggest problem is Christians, conservatives, and the constitutionalists and nationalists, and you're being labeled a terrorist right now. Right? But all these things, They are doing it because they want to create a crisis, and when there's a crisis, there can be emergency powers that are given to the president that are going beyond the Constitution. The only time the president can bring emergency powers that are beyond the Constitution is if they create a crisis. So they tried to create a crisis with COVID. It did not work because people pushed back. All right? But they realized through COVID that there was a group of people here in America that they cannot take over America without dealing with those people. Not every church is in there. Most churches have already sold out their souls to the devil, and they're giving into everything, including inclusivity. There's churches that are okay with homosexual sin. There's churches that are okay with LGBTQ. There's churches that are okay with transgendering and, butchering babies. Can you choose to be a cat today? Can you wake up today in the morning and choose to be a cat? So why is it easy to make a decision today that you want to be a cat, and you're going to be butchered to become a cat? You're going to do surgery to become a cat because you choose today to be a cat. So we have to pay our tax money for you to do the surgery to change your face, cat face. Even the debate about abortions is no longer about the baby now. Now it's when they can kill the baby. They're all talking about when they can kill the baby. They're no longer talking about when the baby is born in the womb. God says, before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. So God knew the baby before mommy and daddy decided to make it. Which means the baby became a baby before the baby was even conceived. So there's no time to kill the baby. Or what about rape? Even babies who are born out of rape, God has a plan for them. If you don't want them, give them for adoption. They make it impossible to adopt, but they make it easy to abort. It's $25,000 to adopt, but it's $0 to abort. Oh, well, we should not do that. We should give exceptions. Who gives life and who takes life away? Is it a doctor or the mother? So it's God who determines whether that baby dies or whether that baby lives. But they're no longer talking about the baby in the womb. They're talking about when to kill the baby. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 15 weeks. It's no longer the baby. It's when to kill the baby. Do you know the largest grocery store in America? What is the largest grocery store in America? No, Walmart is not the largest anymore. CVS is the largest. Yeah. CVS has more branches than Walmart. So think about it. Grocery stores buying medicines. There's a plan. They are followed with Walgreens. Walgreens is the second largest. Walmart is the third, and then K. Rogers is the fourth one. You know what K. Rogers is? Kroger. Some of you didn't figure it out. You figure it out tomorrow. K. Rogers is the fourth. So do you think that foreign-owned farmlands and food processors will channel all their food to the US markets if there's a problem? They will sell it to whoever has more money to give them. So there will be such demand for available food that foreign countries will offer the highest price. And those foreign-based investors, they will sell their food to whoever can make the biggest profit out of it. They have no allegiance to the United States. So when that time comes, food is going to become the premium. They will not show any sympathy even to their own children. They won't even give that food to their own grandchildren. There's going to be a severe shrinkage in the world's grain, not enough to feed the whole world population. Now, if they can make a profit from selling it elsewhere, they'll even deny their own families and be able to sell it elsewhere. Everything is being moved from farming to automation so that you can sit home and receive a check from robots who work for you. Because they're saying robots don't need time off, robots don't complain, robots can work overtime without anybody getting upset with them. They just do what they're told. And because you have your personality issues, a robot is better than you. I'm not kidding you. This is what they're planning. They're planning to automate everything and allow you to sit home, and they will say you have to register into the system if you want to be given money. That's why they started with welfare. When the mark of the beast comes, do you know who they start with? They start with people on welfare. Because government will not give you anything if you don't do what they want you to do. If you don't dance and sing to their tune. We are already losing 3 million acres of land per year in the US in the name of progress. Most of it is paved over with concrete. Then we have the soil crisis. The last 2 centuries, America has lost a third of its topsoil, which is estimated at 4.5 billion worth of soil disappearing each and every year. And this soil cannot be replaced overnight. Nature requires 200 years to 3,000 years just to manufacture 1 inch of topsoil. It was Franklin Roosevelt that said this. He said this. He says, those who destroy, he said, the nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. So experts are estimating that there's only about 20 years left of this usable water. Even the water that we're using right now, there's complaint, and they're saying there's only about 15 to 20 years of usable water. We are rapidly draining every available resource to produce food. So soon we're going to hit rock bottom, and when this happens, we're going to have a fertilizer crisis. Do you know that the fertilizer is the lifeblood of the modern farming and also cheap fertilizers? Can somebody tell me where there is the largest amount of fertilizer in the world? No. Israel. So now they want war with Israel because of fertilizers. This confirms Ezekiel 38 that talks about the nations will gather around Israel to try to take over Israel. Why do you? Because the Dead Sea has all the minerals. That's where salt comes from. Salt is needed in producing fertilizers. Why do you think Russia doesn't like Israel? It's not that they don't like, they want to take over Israel. Why do you think the Arabic nations hate Israel? Because if they can take over Israel, look at Israel right now. It's in the middle of the wilderness, in the middle of nowhere, but it's producing more agricultural produces than any other nation in the world. It's thriving. Do you know why they prosper? Because in Israel, they don't kill their own people. They don't abort babies there. No abortion. Jewish kids are not aborted. Also, Jews don't kill Jews. It's only the terrorists that go over there and kill people. Jewish people don't kill Jewish people. So when the soil is not complaining because of the blood, there's prosperity. Technological prosperity, agricultural advance, minerals. You know why? Because Israel's land is holy. The blood is not crying from the ground. In America, there's blood crying from the ground because we are aborting too many babies. So you know what God's going to do? God's going to allow war. Because every time there's a bloodshed, the next thing is always war. And then through that war, we go to the next stage, which is going to be what? We're going to have another replacement of a population. That's why you just saw 10 million illegals come into America. They're all from South America. Why are they all from South America? They don't kill their babies. What is God doing? In 10 years from now, the largest voting bloc will be South Americans. So while the left is looking at them and saying, oh, they're going to come here and they're going to help us, they don't. When they come here, they don't abort. When they come here, they love their babies. When they come here, they support only the people who support their values. They are only going to agree with the values that line up with the founding fathers, because all South Americans that I know, they value children, family, faith. So when you think that you're going to do something to hurt God's agenda, God just uses what you intended for evil, it turns it around for his good. So because of lack of fertilizer prices, supply disruptions resulting from war, is the war in Russia and all this war all over the world is threatening agricultural bounty. Food security is being threatened, and without enough fertilizers, farmers can't grow enough food. The fertilizer shortage is at the heart of the various food crises around the world right now. So then the last remaining frontier for fertilizer is the Dead Sea. Now that adds up to you according to Ezekiel 38. Now you know how the world is leading itself to Israel. Nations of the world will converge on Israel to capture the rich mineral content of the Dead Sea. This is why many nations are maneuvering right now to conquer Israel. And that's why the Antichrist will make Israel his prime target of conquest. Why? Because of food, because of technology, because of the advancements. This will be a desperate struggle for survival. So as food becomes premium, the Dead Sea will become attractive. Nations of the world will rush to devour that resource. Everything will come to a standstill. Supermarkets and grocery store shelves will quickly empty up. Hoarding and panic will ensue. Riots and civilian unrest will bring in an army. The food you're eating from your grocery store is not healthy. They're spraying it with chemicals. Non-GMO food is no longer non-GMO food because they package it and says non-GMO, but they know what they've put in there. So you're eating all the chemicals and killing yourself. And the big pharma wants you to be sick so that they can make more money. You guys, the rotation is exactly the same way. You get sick, you go to the hospital, big pharma makes big money. Politicians get that money from big pharma, and the cycle continues. If you fight big pharma, or if you start teaching people how to live healthy, they will come after you and they will say you're practicing medicine without a license. Eventually, we're going to become controlled country headed for dictatorship. The Antichrist will then institute distribution system. This is how the Antichrist will begin to force people and say, you cannot buy food in Hilliard. You can only buy food in Grove City. If you're from Grove City, you're buying from Grove City. If you're from Hilliard, you're buying only from Hilliard. A day is coming where you're going to pull up into your bank and they're going to tell you today, your withdrawal amount has been reduced to $25 only. That's how much you can take because the government is using your money. Yeah. It's coming where you're going to pull up to your bank and they will say, sorry, your saving is not available. We are rationing your savings for you. I know a lot of people right now are already buying silver and gold just in case. Because silver doesn't lose its quality and its value. Gold doesn't lose either. Those were the barter trading elements back in the days. So God showed me not long ago that sooner or later in the US, we're only going to have two currencies. They're going to get rid of all the other currencies and only remain with two. And then ultimately, a digital currency. Guys, you came away from swiping to dipping to inserting. And now they're going to say they want to put it in your body, which is already happening. I know a lot of young people who are already buying things with their wrist. Okay? There's already workplaces where you can actually open the door with your hand or with your retina, a retina scan, and you can open the door with your eyes. The lie will be that for parents who are worried about their children getting lost, they can put this chip by drilling a hole in the skull of your kid and putting that chip inside the skull because thieves will not find it or kidnappers will not find it, but the police can find your kid very quickly for you. And many parents who are lazy, who do not want to watch over their kids will say yes. They're already doing it with dogs. So we're getting close. Tell somebody we're getting close. But God always saves his people in the midst of all these things. Amen?